Before we get into the video, I need you guys to do me a favour. Number 1, get this video to at least 200 likes. Also comment. Let me know your thoughts on the story. Now, football is the most beautiful game ever played. No contesting. Enjoyed by over 250 million people in over 200 countries. But beneath the underbelly of the sport clubs have die-hard and almost obsessive fans, whom form firms, in order to signify the love for the game, and more specifically for their specific club, in a very physical form. In other words, in layman's terms, these well-testosterone-filled men delight in the possibility of a potential confrontation or a scrap with other football clubs. Now, Leeds Football Club is followed closely by Leeds Service Crew and is considered one of the most hostile and notorious football firms in English football. Take away the fact that the football hooligan firm was formed in 1974, the same year a talented English football team that consisted of Alan Mullery and Martin Peters failed to qualify for the World Cup, or the fact that Leeds Service Crew got its name from taking the early morning service train, instead of taking the heavily escorted police special trains. Leeds Service Crew is known for both domestic and international scraps. Leeds is the biggest city in Yorkshire. In the 1970s and 1980s, textile and steel companies had begun to shut down. Men that were used to doing a hard day's graft, a hard day's work, suddenly found themselves jobless and sailing on a Monday or a Tuesday to collect their gyro. Now, men needed to exert their pent-up energy. According to members of the Leeds Service Crew, they says there was nothing like the feeling of going to a matchday game and seeing a crowd from another firm standing opposite you, ready to have it out, never running and never shying away. The moment the two firms stormed over to each other, it was euphoric. It was like euphoria. Wherever Leeds United played, hundreds of fans would follow. It wasn't difficult to spot a Leeds Service Crew member. On match day, they would normally be wearing the unofficial uniform, which is either a Pringle or Lacoste jumper on match days. Now, Leeds Service Crew are on the top of the list for banning orders and arrests, with over 700 arrests and over 500 banning orders. Leeds Service Crew got their first taste of international fame way back in 1975, a year after they formed. It was the European Cup final 1975. Leeds United pitted against Bayern Munich in Paris. Now, Leeds United refused the penalty after Leeds striker Alan Clark was brought down in the penalty area, and if things couldn't get worse, in the second half, Leeds United were disallowed a goal for offside, which clearly wasn't. Now, the match was eventually won by Bayern Munich 2-0. The Leeds Service Crew reacted by ripping seats from the stand and throwing missiles onto the pitch along with the seats. The chaos was so much that Leeds United would be banned from European football for 4 years, which was eventually reduced to 2 years on appeal. And then Leeds began to get more famous as the years went on. In 1990, on Bank Holiday weekend in May of 1990, Leeds United travelled to Bournemouth for the last game of the season. The opportunity was there for Leeds to be promoted back into the top flight after 8 years away. An estimated 10,000 fans travelled to the penultimate game. Now, Leeds won that game 1-0. However, Leeds Service Crew were described as going round Bournemouth and vandalising city centre pubs and local shops before branching off and ultimately clashing with police. 104 arrests were made and 12 officers were injured in that melee. Because of the continued act of football hooliganism, there was a special task force set up to monitor football firms. The use of CCTV and on-the-beat officers were used to track crowds and deter football fans like Leeds Service Crew from meeting up with other firms in car parks or back street roads away from the stadium to test their manhood. And on April 28, 2007, during the championship game at Elland Road with Ipswich Town, 200 fans caused a 30-minute delay to the match as fans spilled out onto the pitch. Now, that game resulted in a draw, in which saw Leeds be relegated. So the question is, in your opinion, who are the biggest football firms in the country? Let me know in the comments. Stay safe.